down to her level, and I'm talking to her, and she was just saying, repeating some things, and honestly, I just told her to stop talking. She repeatedly kept saying that she wanted to die. Again, how my conclusion came that there was something critical that took place. I'm going to prison. I want to die. Just let me die. I talked to her sergeant twice, and on the second time, he finally listened to me, I said, you need to take her gun from her, because I didn't know the whole realm of it, but I knew it wasn't good.
Officer Potter is led to an ambulance where she's...
I mean, technically, chat. I mean, why take her gun away? Because if she's going for a self-kill, right? I mean, she'll take the taser instead, and it's not gonna do anything. So I think they're chilling.
Checked out before being transported back to the police station. Officer Potter, of course, is far from the only person experiencing trauma from the day's events.
I went outside screaming, like, I was just so distraught. My neighbors heard me, and my neighbor's like, no, I'll drive you. And there was so much traffic, and I was like, oh my God, I can't. I got out of the car and I started running, but it was so far away. So I had to get back in the car, and I couldn't go any further, and I just seen yellow tape.
In the meantime, cops from several departments and jurisdictions have blanketed the area, and many still have very little knowledge about what happened.
Hi there. No, I don't have all the details. I just replaced my partner about 5 minutes ago. I haven't heard about any officers being hurt at all, but I don't know any details.
When Dante's mom finally gets to the scene, she's confronted with the same lack of answers.
I finally got into the yellow tape, and the police officers were stopping me. I'm like, oh my God, is that my son? And I seen the car that we just gave my son 2 weeks ago smashed up with another car. And I was like, oh my God, was he in an accident? And Brooklyn Center police officers were talking to me, and they said they had no information. They don't know what happened. I said, well, I know what happened. I was on the phone. You shot my son.
The sight of this many police cars has attracted attention, and it's not long before the mood grows hostile.
Oh, it's me. You're the one that's yelling out a window while you're driving. These people don't even know what happened. I don't even know what happened, and they're threatening to hurt people. Unbelievable.
But the atmosphere surrounding police shootings is tense in the spring of 2021, and that tension is perhaps especially palpable here in Brooklyn Center, where, less than 10 miles away, Derek Chauvin is on trial for the 2020 death of George Floyd, and as news breaks out about Dante's shooting, the gathering crowd begins to take the shape of a full-fledged protest.
Avenue North, Lee Avenue North. You people here, do not be violent. Get the body pigs. Do not be crazy about it. I want you to fight them. Get people here right now. Protect people here. Avenue North, fight it out. Do not want to fight yourself. The reason why they have so many pigs out here is because they don't.
Oh nah. I can't. Jesus. Oh man, I have to go pee too. So I'm not watching this shit. I can't.
But the growing unrest at the scene of Dante's
No, my
shooting is
pizza!
only the first
No!
glimpse of what is in store for Brooklyn Center as the day turns into night, and news of the incident continues to spread throughout the community.
It landed on its face, man. Fuck, man. Oh my God, it's full of hair.
Come over the radio.
Minneapolis female stated looting of Walmart will be happening soon, and hung up on it.
And as temperatures rise across the city, it's perhaps inevitable that some protesters are detained.
My phone is ringing. Can you see who that is, please? You have to answer it, but can you tell me who it is? Because it might be my mom, and she's going to be very disappointed in me. Oh, man. I thought I was doing the right thing. It's looking real great outside. It looks like you guys got it all in control.
Even as the protests turn chaotic in some areas, police must also confront destruction and theft throughout the city.
I'll be honest with you, I got no idea what to do here. Because I mean, everything around here is good news.
The wide net of property damage and looting sends the cops to multiple businesses throughout the night as they struggle to keep up with sporadic outbursts of criminal activity.
You better get the home! Get the home! Y'all better get home! Drop it! Stop it! Police, you're under arrest! Come on, your hands up!
They probably just ran out of here. That kid looks like he's about 8 years old. Wow, this is the America we live in now. That's the war zone.
The local unrest continues throughout the following week, and the city reports that they've handled at least 200 calls ranging from burglaries to property damage. According to officials, more than 140 businesses are damaged, including several instances of arson. In the midst of the ongoing protests and community reaction, Officer Potter resigns from the Brooklyn Center Police Department on April 13th, 2 days after the shooting. The following day, she is arrested and charged with second-degree manslaughter in the death of Dante Wright.
So,
Chad, we have to go peace out.
I'm just gonna, I know, I'm very sorry. Just, let's just face this way just for the sake of it. I'm just gonna pat everything down. Do you have underwear on?
No, it's just
Nothing?
sports bra on.
Okay.
There's no pockets.
What?
Like a little bit, thank you.
Well,
She
what happened,
arrives
Chad?
at the jail. Potter has an emotional exchange with the officer escorting her.
I'd give you a hug, but that's probably not allowed.
What's that?
Can't give you a hug. It's probably not allowed.
Yeah, I just be aware that once you walk in the door, everything is recorded, so and phone calls and everything. I'm sure you know that. I'm just okay, and we'll make this as quick and be.
What?
Dante's shooting, the gathering crowd begins to take the shape of a full-fledged protest.
Hold the space! Hold the space! Text people to come and Avenue North, Lee Avenue North. Get people here. Do not be violent training. Get the party pigs. Do not be training by them. I want you to fight them. Get people here right now. Text people to get Avenue North right now. Do not go for the go. The reason why they have so many pigs out here is because they know.
Go. Yeah, but this has nothing to do with brutality, though. I'm confused. Okay. This has nothing to do with police brutality. This is just a dumbass cop. That has nothing to do. I'm confused.
But the growing unrest at the scene of Dante's shooting is only the first glimpse of what is in store for Brooklyn Center as the day turns into night and news of the incident continues to spread throughout the community. Riot squads gather at the police station as the protests spread and troubling reports come over the radio.
Minneapolis, female stated looting of Walmart will be happening soon, and hung up on it.
And as temperatures rise across the city, it's perhaps inevitable that some protesters are detained.
My phone is ringing. Can you see who that is, please? You have to answer it, but can you tell me who it is? Because it might be my mom, and she's going to be very disappointed in me.
Looting, great.
Real great outside. It looks like you guys got it all in control.
The city,
I'll be honest with you, I got no idea what to do here. Because I mean, everything around here is getting looted.
the wide net of property damage and looting sends the cops to multiple businesses throughout the night as they struggle to keep up with sporadic outbursts of criminal activity.
You better get the home! Get the home! Y'all better get home! Drop it! Stop it! Police, you're under arrest! Come on, your hands up!
They probably just ran out of here. That kid looks like he's about 8 years old. Wow, this is the America we live in now. I got this war zone.
The local unrest continues throughout the following week, and the city reports that they've handled at least 200 calls ranging from burglaries to property damage.
That's just so
According
fucking
to
annoying.
officials, more than 140 businesses are damaged, including several instances of arson. In the midst of the ongoing protests and community reaction, Officer Potter resigns from the Brooklyn Center Police Department on April 13th.
Let's keep it a bugger. This is a protest, but like, the majority of the people that are there don't even care about the whatever's going on. Whatever motive or whatever cause it's for, they don't even give a fuck. They don't care. Let's be honest.
2 days after the shooting, the following day, she is arrested and charged with second-degree manslaughter in the death of Dante Wright.
So, yep, I'm just gonna, you know, I know, I'm very sorry.
Emotional exchange with the officer escort.
That once you walk in the door, everything is recorded, so to speak, and phone calls and everything. Just, I'm sure you know that. I'm just okay, and we'll make this as quick and clean as possible.
In September, the Minnesota Attorney General added first-degree manslaughter to her charges. At trial, Potter told the jury that she had never before used her taser or her gun on duty in her 26 years of policing, and insisted that she didn't want to hurt anybody that day. Dante's mother posted a message on Facebook calling for accountability.
Just see my son laying there. Looked to me like he was dead.
Manslaughter is kind of a far-fetched goal. I mean, I go for what, like negligent discharge, something like that, but criminal negligence. Sorry.
Laying there, looked to me like he was dead, and I sat there and watched my son sit on the corner for hours and hours. That was my day. I watched my son underneath the yellow tent for seemed to be like a lifetime.
Kimberly Potter was convicted of first-degree manslaughter and sentenced in February 2022.
Whoa! What the fuck? What?
Of first-degree manslaughter and sentenced in February 2022. The city of Brooklyn Center agreed to pay Dante Wright's family a lawsuit settlement of $3.25.
Wait, hold on. What the fuck?
Just step out of the car.
$1 million in June 2022.
No.
Kimberly Potter was released from prison in April 2023.
Yeah, no shit. Wait. No shit. So did they appeal? I don't get it.
Dante's mother posted a message on Facebook calling for accountability.
Just see my son laying in the corner, be like a lifetime.
Kimberly Potter was convicted of first-degree manslaughter.
Check the 26 years. I thought she goes getting 26 years.
Potter and sentenced in February 2022. The city of Brooklyn Center agreed to pay Dante Wright's family a lawsuit settlement of $3.25 million in June 2022.
No, it makes sense.
Kimberly Potter was released from prison in April 2023.
Well, and that's another kind of reminder. Like guns are no joke. If you can be on the force, I think they should have like a mandatory like gun fucking handling every once in a while. Like every fucking dude, not that hard. Every 3 months or some shit like that, you gotta go to the shooting range and you shoot fucking 3 mags. Wow, what about it? They do? She said she didn't use her gun or taser for fucking 26 years. I would argue it's more negligent of the PD to let her on the force like that with no training for 26 years than her doing that legitimately, because they need to some form of accountability from the people that are superior to her, is what it is. I mean, buddy, 26 years without using a gun. That's like giving a child a gun and then being, oh my god, the child has shot the gun. I can't believe this. Like what? Wait, how am I doing chat? What's that thing saying? She said on duty. Huh? Okay, so it still mean that she didn't use it, right?
Welcome back to the greatest series on YouTube. In today's news, everybody's favorite Hassan mod, Frogan, is back and beefing with Asmongold. Hassan is back on stream crying non-stop about Asmongold. He says that he's bringing hate to Twitch, says that he has wild extremist beliefs, and Asmon is a controversial one, not him. He also specifically cries about his low viewership. Asmon responds to all the new Hassan clips and just dies laughing.
Why is the view count so low? What's going on?
Even more people are dropping out of Creator Clash 3. Ethan keeps dunking on iDubbbz. More secrets have been revealed, with iDubbbz and Anissa apparently taking 34% of the profit share for a supposed charity event. And iDubbbz has finally responded to the situation on Reddit. Okay, subscribe if you're enjoying the videos. I'm enjoying reading the comments a lot. You guys are hilarious. And let's begin with Asmongold versus Hijaba the Hutt. Basically, some context. Asmongold says that Twitch should just ban politics, and one of the creators he mentioned causing problems was Frogan. And she did not like that.
If I wanted to optimize ad revenue, I'd ban politics. So I made this comment, and Frogan, obviously, she responded, "You consider me political because I wear a hijab. I am not like you, and I do not make political content anywhere but typing a tweet once in a while." So this is what I like. Frogan actually thinks that a sub goal to make a cake of 9/11 happening wouldn't be a PR problem for the website.
If we get to this goal by 9/11, we'll make the Twin Towers out of a stacked cake. And we'll make an airplane, and we'll recreate 9/11.
And so I say, don't try to use your hijab as a shield for your disgusting behavior. American soldiers deserve PTSD.
I have no pity at all for any soldiers. The U.S. military, who fucking who? I hope you get PTSD, and I hope you get no health insurance when you get back into fucking America.
Arab and Jew racial tier list, that was such a PR problem that I think Chevron is now not working with Twitch anymore.
Ethan Klein.
Dude, where's the, you guys are missing a category for Zionist.
Also calling October 7th mass murders a revolution. You never even say the word hijab, she just insinuates that for no reason. Well, she does because that's her shield. You're thinking a tier list about who can use the Arabic word for my love is political is exactly the point that I'm making. Ben Shapiro was on the thumbnail of that, and he wasn't even on the list.
Base?
Okay, I'm not sure why Jabba is mad today. She was very quiet for a while, but she probably just ran out of snacks or something and got really cranky, let's be honest. But yeah, it's so scummy doing this whole hijab thing. Nobody cares that you wear a hijab. People are attacking your character and the things you say, not your religion or anything like that. And to pretend she's not controversial and not bad for the website is just insane. The thing is, Asmon didn't even single her out. He said that he himself should be banned because he also causes PR problems. But somebody had to go and make herself the center of attention, as if she's not already the gravitational center of our galaxy. Anyways, let's move on to Hassan slandering Asmongold again for like, I don't know, the 50th time.
You know, what pain has Asmon caused, though, to be honest?
What pain?
What do you mean? He's the largest political content creator, and he has created a dangerous environment for trans people, for people.
You might not know this, but if a trans person watches my stream for more than 30 minutes, they die. That's right. It is very, very dangerous.
People of every different kind of background.
That's right.
Promoting the Trump administration and bringing it here to a private space like
a private space? What do you mean by a private space? You mean your private space that you thought you had a monopoly on the conversations around, and then somebody else comes on and they're saying things that you disagree with, and now it's dangerous. Right. Yes, it's your private safe space, and people are now disagreeing with you, and you're not happy about that. Yes, I'm sure this must be very upsetting. Oh no.
Oh my god, did Hassan really just call Twitch a private safe space? How delusional can you be? It's literally one of the biggest streaming platforms. How is that a private space, you absolute donut? Just because nobody challenged your extremist views for so long doesn't mean that it was a private space. I mean, he's literally defining an echo chamber here, like, don't bring new ideas to my private space, guys. Also, isn't Hassan the guy who says that Iran is pro-trans because they force gay people to medically transition?
There are plenty of gay and trans people. By the way, Iran is actually weirdly very pro-trans, but I'm sure that you probably didn't know that. They're very homophobic, but they are very pro-trans.
Weirdly pro-trans, by the way. Dude, Hassan might actually be the stupidest guy to ever exist in politics. Me, as somebody completely apolitical, can destroy him with one of his own clips because it's just that easy. His complete lack of knowledge about anything is just astounding. Then Hassan talks about normalizing progressive values.
In the same exact ways that I have normalized, I guess, progressive values.
Okay. Be honest. Progressive values, like what? Like, I mean, what progressive value has Hassan normalized on Twitch? Nothing. He hasn't normalized anything. Yes, it's so crazy. Like, what are you talking about? This self-aggrandizement is outrageous.
Terrorism. That's the progressive value he wants you to normalize. He wants his private safe space so that he can safely promote terrorism. And just asking some questions here, what do you think these terrorists he support actually does to any gay person or to women and minorities or even innocent children? Because last I checked, they kill them, they violate them, and, you know, Hassan just closes his eyes, pretends it doesn't happen, you know, because he needs forensic evidence from the dead women. Pixar, it didn't happen, guys. I didn't see the court case about it. I guess it didn't happen.
My normalization of progressive values.
Right, my normalization is about all of the good things, and his normalization is about all of the bad things, right? Because this
does not actually end up causing harm to others.
Really? So the normal, I wonder, what about those Filipinos that got taken hostage by the Houthis, supporting them? What about the people in Yemen that hate the Houthis because they're an oppressive paramilitary organization that is terrorists, and they're not even supported by the majority of the people there? Hassan saying that he 10 toes down supports an organization that, you know, has reportedly had slaves, they dissenters, they try to attack ships, they take random people hostage. Geez, I wonder which one's worse.
Okay, that's it. I'm reporting Asmongold for violating my safe space right now. He's telling me facts about the terrorists, and it's really hurting my feelings right now. Dude, it's just so funny how Hassan pretends he cares about people while simultaneously supporting some of the worst, literal worst humans on Earth. You cannot make this up. To everybody watching right now, I pray that nobody you know in real life is this level of stupid. Then Hassan just calls people who disagree with him fascists.
Unless you are a fucking fascist.
Of course, there it is. There's the word. We have to use the word. That way everybody knows what side we're on. I would say that a lot of these different terrorist organizations that he has refused to condemn, and in some cases supported, would be infinitely more fascist.
Yep, that is spot on. Of course they are more fascist. They are literally terrorists. But Hassan is never going to acknowledge that because that would require a level of self-awareness that he just refuses to have. Now, Asmon talks about the jealousy clip.
Outside of the framework of clout and drama, constantly say, Hassan, you're so jealous that Asmongold is
Which, by the way, is Hassan really gonna try to play the card that he doesn't care about clout? You please tell me you're not gonna actually play that card. Please tell me. Like, of course you do. Stop it. Just stop it. Like, stop pretending. It's okay.
Still enough people who live in the normal world that find that shit to be utterly repulsive.
Right. Everybody normal likes me, and everybody weird likes him. I'm an advocate for all of the good things. He's an advocate for all of the bad things.
Hassan thinking he's a normal person or his views are normal in any way is just insane delusion. He's either A, completely out of touch and in an echo chamber, or B, he knows he's crazy, but he just has to say this because, you know, his audience is equally crazy and he can't really do anything else. And I'll concede, Asmon isn't the most normal person. In fact, a lot of us definitely have our own quirks to ourselves. It's not actually a good thing to be perfectly normal, right? That just kind of makes you an NPC or whatever. But I think the main point here is just not supporting terrorists and having a little bit of human empathy. Then Asmon talks about idolizing Twitch streamers.
Unsustainable.
I will agree with him there. If you think that I'm a role model, that is very unsustainable because you'll die. You will die. People are in my house for 2 hours and they can't breathe. Yeah, I don't think you should make people role models in general because people are flawed. And I think that assigning your value and assigning your identity to another person is toxic. And what ends up happening is that people assign their identity to another person and it causes them to justify and make excuses for that person's shortcomings. nobody is perfect.
So I've said this in tons of videos before. It's just not good to idolize people and think they have no flaws and they just blindly agree with everything they do. That's why Swifties really creep me out, because they think Taylor Swift is some sort of goddess or whatever. It's perfectly fine to like her music and enjoy her music and, you know, respect her entrepreneurship career and stuff like that. But don't go to them for morals or anything that's like different from what they're known for, right? Like, that's why I'm really confused when people ask me about my political opinion. Like, it shouldn't matter. Like, I'm not a politics creator. You shouldn't even want to know. I don't care about it, and I'm not well versed enough to talk about it either. My channel is built off common sense. Like, all I've been doing for the past 7 years is pointing out stupid people are stupid. I'm not doing anything incredible here. It's not rocket science here. I'm just making a couple of jokes and calling idiots idiots because I enjoy doing that. And I think you'll find that a lot of people you look up to are not as perfect as you think they are, and they just portray their best side online. So it appears that, okay, they're infallible, but in reality, they probably have even more flaws than you. You just don't know. Now, Hassan complains about his views.
Hassan, his view count is...
It just like cooks. Why is the view count so low? What's going? I started early today, and when you start early, it just like cooks. I've trained my audience to basically watch me after 11 a.m. Instead, I started at 10, which implies that it probably doesn't send out notifications to many people. Many people on Twitch.
He got to work on that Trump accent. He really got... He can do better.
Man, this is sad. Hassan is sounding like a typical YouTuber when they get 10K less views. And I used to do this before too, when I try to make sense of the algorithm and I would check my analytics every day, and I try to maintain viewership and sort of lose my mind when you get like 10 of 10s or your videos aren't doing as well. But I learned very quickly that that's very bad for your mental health. And now I'm over it. I literally check it maybe once a month, even lesser. I really don't care that much. Don't get me wrong. It's obviously nice to do well and have people enjoy your stuff. But if randomly tomorrow I get like 5 views on my video, first off, that would be really suspicious, but whatever. It's hypothetically, right? I wouldn't really curse my life or complain about anything because I had a great career. I got very lucky. I made it at a young age. I retired. It's very nice. And there's something really weird in this career. I don't know if it's just me, but the second you stop caring, all of your metrics just shoot up completely, like, because you're not spending your time worrying about useless stuff, and instead you're just spending your time on the actual content and, you know, how to make it better and, you know, enjoying yourself and stuff like that. So I don't know, that's just some advice for any creators watching, I guess. Just take it easy, you know, don't make it your entire world or whatever, and you'll probably perform better. Then Hassan tries to make the argument that he's actually not controversial.
Problems that are caused for the entire website never actually covered by real PR, and it's just the sweatiest fucking losers on Twitter that get mad.
Did it explain why Twitch changed the advertising revenue algorithms and why people are reporting lower ad revenue by a massive amount? Is he really going to say that he doesn't have any part to play in Twitch losing advertising revenue, or are we really trying to play this game? Really? That's crazy.
Okay, and the one this central committee is, they barely know who the I am. Okay, and the ones who know who the I am in mainstream media obviously understand that, like, I'm a controversial figure, but ultimately a force for good, a force for progressive pop.
Of course, everybody knows that I'm on the right side.
Twitch is allowing Asmongold to run rampant, to run his fucking dirty ass dick all up and down the goddamn platform, saying the most insane shit.
I don't think that anything that I'm saying is really that extreme at all. In my opinion, I think Hassan is much more of an extremist than I.
I feel like it's kind of hard to be more extreme than Hassan. You'd probably have to do something physically in real life to be more extreme than Hassan. Or say probably the most unhinged thing you could possibly think of, like PDF type of stuff. But again, Hassan greenlets like any atrocities as long as it's on his side. So it's kind of a challenge to be more unhinged than him. And him trying to gaslight his viewers into thinking he's normal is so funny. I still don't believe half of these people are real. All right, this might be some dead internet theory here. Then Hassan pulls the classic and calls people terminally online.
People who spend all of their time online and all their time on fucking Twitter.
People who spend all their time online. Do you mean you? You mean you? Like, what are we talking about? Like, it's just, you're on the internet all the time. Like, I wake up in the morning, he's California time. I wake up in the fucking morning and I'm reading his tweets, and it's from an hour ago. You're waking up at 9 in the morning to tweet before you even go live. I just wanted to stop supporting terrorist organizations. The bar is on the floor. Put down the shovel. Just stop. Just stop. It's so easy.
Hassan calling people terminally online when he streams 10 hours a day and spends the remaining time tweeting and doing other things online. Literally pot calling the kettle black. As I said, he's an Epson 50/50 premium grade projector. Then Hassan calls Asmin a rat bitch.
Does unlimited white supremacist propaganda every
Unlimited white supremacy. It just can't be stopped, bro. It can't be stopped.
fucking day to 50,000 people who was destroyed.
There it is.
Or a guy like myself who, yes, has radical perspectives, but
okay, radical perspectives. Okay, thank you.
Is on the right side, and
the right side of what?
That's it.
That's not it. Keep going.
But because I'm not a
Alright.
rat bitch like Asmin go, he can now turn around, watch this reaction, watch me reacting to him saying some dumb shit, and then make another fucking YouTube video being like, yeah, it's over, guys.
I actually take great offense to this. I'm the it's over guy. You know, Asmin can have every other title in the book, okay? Roach King, etc., etc., but it's over? No. That's a Pegasus classic, all right? And don't get me started on he's done. I should trademark that shit. Hassan about to be finally done, finished, and cooked.
He constantly says that he's above the slop and above the drama, but somehow he knows about all of it. Isn't that interesting?
It's very interesting. It's almost like he's glued to the screen right now. Everybody say hi to Hassan Biker. There's a jump scare for him because you know he's watching. He pretty much watches every decently popular video about him, and then he'll pretend that you don't exist to seem cool, but then conveniently reference exactly what you say. Also, now we just confirmed that he's Omega terminally online because there's no more time left in the day. Because he has to spend time watching videos off stream because he can't pull up any of my videos or any like other commentary YouTubers videos on stream because he'll get exposed as a fraud, right? So he has to spend another 10 hours catching up with the saga here, right? And then 10 hours streaming and then a couple hours tweeting. Like, oh my god, dude, I hope he at least gets 8 hours of sleep, man. This ain't healthy. Anyways, moving on to updates for Creator Clash 3, LA Beast has dropped out due to a laundry list of reasons that will be revealed to you shortly. I unfortunately will be no longer boxing. All I wanted to do is put on a show, get paid, and ultimately raise money for charity. Reason 1, scared of the multiple red flags and irreversible damage to do to one's brand by being associated with the event. Good choice. How it's gotten to this point is a real bummer. Selfishness on a part of a select few has taken away from the charity aspect, and fighters who put in and sacrificed the gym training the last few months. I sacrificed time away from my newborn son and wife to train 5 to 6 days a week. Another empathy classic from Mr. iDubbbz. Event moves to LA. LA Beast immediately drops out. Oh my god, there are rumors that Freddie Wong has withdrawn from Creator Clash. And then we got this screenshot and he's just sort of gone. Now Ethan responded. He said, it's just a shame that they used all these people for a vanity project that was doomed from the start. LAB seem to be taking it very seriously according to Harley. Feel bad for the poor guy. Hopefully they at least pay him back for the training time and make an apology to him. Nope. Actually, they have to prevent their own losses first. This is their announcement, just quietly changing the date in the Twitter bio. This event will go down in YouTube history, and they changed the date to October 25. Ian and Anissa can never pay back the time he lost with his family. Ethan throws some shots at iDubbbz.
He needs a good fucking ass whooping is what he needs.
Dude, he is such a mean-spirited little freak. Like,
I have feelings.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you have feelings behind those dead eyes. And I understand you don't like getting pegged, and that's fine. But you need to learn to say no to her.
No.
When she comes in the room at night and she's wearing it again.
No.
Dude, iDubbbz probably wakes up in the middle of the night in cold sweats just regarding that content cop. Like, I should have never made it. Oh my god, that was like the biggest backfire in history, dude. Now we have some new information regarding how much iDubbbz was earning from this event. Do the fighters get paid? Yes, each fighter receives a guaranteed purse. In addition, 20% of net profits will be evenly split among the fighters. For the 34% profit will be allocated to Ian and Anissa, and is now being redistributed among the fighters following their departure. So you're telling me they kept using charity as a defense this entire time while taking 34% of the profit share? So this was basically an event to make them more money, and charity was like a side thought. How disgusting, how absolutely despicable. These people are multi-millionaires and they still need to take extra money away from charity. Dude, what the heck, man? Absolute greedy pieces of shit, man. Like, how about you spare a penny for the less fortunate? Holy shit. Now, apparently new people are taking over the event. They released a video on YouTube. New faces of the event are Alana Pierce, Ego Raptor, and Ethan Nestor.
Such a cool idea. A bunch of creators getting fit, punching each other in the face, and it's for charity. Like, I feel like it just, the message is so inherently positive that it's a shame that it became this dramatic internet thing that it never should have been, and I'm just very glad that attempts are being made to fix all that.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest questions that people have is about how the event was run in the past and what is going to be different about it now, because it was like, okay, it's for a good cause, it's for charity, and then when you go and do it and no money is raised for charity, that sucks.
Yeah, I've been pretty candid with you about this, Aaron, about like how disappointed I was and how like burnt I felt by it. And I was talking to a separate fighter who's not in the room about this just yesterday. It was like, you work so hard. I had a family member who was in the hospital with cancer at the time, and the thing that like kept me going, that stopped me from quitting and just going to be with them, was I was like, this is for charity. You're raising money for charity. You're raising money for a good cause. You got to keep going, and it was so hard. And then when I found out that we didn't, I think I cried. Like I was so disappointed.
Yeah, I don't know. She kind of gives me the fake empathetic vibes like iDubbbz crying in that video. I don't trust a word these people say. Do not support this event. I feel like these people supported iDubbbz anyways, so I don't really trust them. And I feel like you can go to any other charity, any other creator. This event is so cooked. The only way it would be saved is if some miracle creator joined it. Like if Markiplier randomly joined it, then maybe it has a chance. But otherwise, I'm not buying into this BS. Now, remember that person who made the announcement about Creator Clash? Well, she's actually defended iDubbbz before.
Hi, if you watched that iDubbbz content cop on H3 yesterday and you can't comprehend that that was a friend mourning someone that they used to know, I think you're pretty much f***ed at this point. And as someone who's on the edge of the alt-right pipeline in 2017, I'm really, 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 really proud of iDubbbz. I feel very proud to be an iDubbbz fan today. He is now the definition of I have put the work in. I have not only apologized, but I have put the work in to become a better person, not only in my personal life, but online. And yeah, maybe the easiest thing you can comment under this video is that I'm biased because I boxed in that thing. But I know I'm not. I know that I'm a good judge of character, and I just know the journey that a lot of these people have been through on the internet. And out of everybody, I'm pretty proud, I guess. I don't know, proud of myself and proud of the people who I still support.
By the way, I still have no idea who this is. I've literally never heard of them in my life before this drama. But any friend of iDubbbz after that content cop, I just don't trust. I don't think you're a good judge of character. In fact, you're horrible. And yes, supporting a scumbag like that makes you not a good person, and by proxy supporting Hassan as well, because he's a big part of that video. So yeah, L morals, L person. Anyways, iDubbbz responded on his hometown Reddit. I wanted to clear some things up now that Anissa and I are no longer a part of Creator Clash. When I announced CC3 and his new business model, the communication wasn't clear. Looking back in the video and his current reaction, it's obvious it was too vague. It remains true that I earned a fight purse for Creator Clash 1, and we did not profit all from Creator Clash 2. After CC2 failed to raise any money for charity, we knew it was time for a different business model. We restructured so the funds for our charity partner would be raised on Tiltify separate from the actual event. Ah, so because you didn't make any money, you decided to change the structure and keep the charity separate. How scummy. We then decided for this year we would take a profit share for the for-profit side of the event should the for-profit side of the event succeed. I feel sorry for any confusion Anissa and I caused. We know the event is in good hands and wish it all the success. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. If I were to do a charity event, 100% is going to charity, bro. We're literally YouTubers. Like, how much more money do you need? Holy shit. Oh my god. Never let a creator use charity as a defense ever again, because behind the scenes, this type of shit is going on where they're actually making like a huge profit from the whole thing. Like, and like, oh, it's for charity, guys. Like, shut up, man. Ethan responds, my, look at the scumbag scuttle. It's always been a ruse to make money. They lied to us. They lied to you. The event was always trying to line their pockets. They're really trying to line their pockets with charity money from kids with cancer. You can't make this up, folks. Just wow. I knew they were bad people, but this takes it up another level. Now click this video or you gotta have a threesome with Hamas Diddy, Baby Oil Piker, and iCucks. Alright, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Be sad or upset about anything. The lack of willingness to challenge people is our number one crime today. That people think that a pain-free existence is a good existence. So there's no type of good conflict. There's a lot of good conflict that you can introduce to somebody in school, especially because that's the best place to do it. That grows your character, right? Conflict is good. You know, conflict breeds a whole bunch of potentially good things. Now, I don't mean you should be like raping children and that they'll overcome that. I'm not saying that, or you should beat the fuck out of your kids. But like some level of discomfort or conflict is necessary to grow in almost all circumstances. Reading, nonfiction can be boring, but you learn. Going to the gym sucks, but you get stronger. Eating healthy isn't as much fun as eating donuts all the time, but you grow, right? Like there's a lot of like potential conflict that you can introduce. Having some, ideological friction with people around you could be uncomfortable, but like you learn and grow from it. But I think that people's like overwhelming amount of compassion these days, it's really ignorance, I think, masquerading as compassion, because you're inhibiting people's ability to grow and learn by saying that they can't handle any conflict in their life at all, Do you think that a teacher could implement conflict in a classroom? Absolutely. Yeah, of course. When you guys do like mock trial stuff or whatever, like, oh, you guys have to argue, write a paper arguing in favor of this or that, or, like these can be like ways of introducing conflict. Like the gold stars in School of Rock. True. Anything else about this, or are we moving on from this conversation? Are we good here, or? Okay, hold on, sorry. Somebody's asking me, can you explain how a person who is too accommodating can be bad? Okay, if you have something that makes you uncomfortable, there are two negative ways that this can be dealt with, okay? We finally have learned this about trigger warnings. Thank God, although they're probably never going away, even though now we know they're garbage. They don't do anything, okay? So either one, you can be over accommodating to yourself, meaning that you constantly avoid like triggering stimuli, or two, your environment can be over accommodating. So I think that what the research has said now is that when you over accommodate people, you make people more stressed out about the things you're trying to over accommodate for. So if somebody wants to link it in chat, I don't have it, but they did, I think they did a study where they had a bunch of people read a passage, or it might have been several passages, and they, for one of them, they provided trigger warnings beforehand, and for the other one, they gave no trigger warnings. They had them read it and then report back their feelings like a day later or a week later or something about it. And when you're given a trigger warning, you are more likely to report feelings of discomfort relating to whatever you've seen. Like just being primed with that trigger warning already makes you uncomfortable. And yeah, I think it says something to the resiliency of a person. If you like just reading something, you need like 15 different trigger warnings, or like trigger warning, rape, trigger warning, whatever. It's like, bro, it's a fucking sentence on Twitter. Okay, if you're honestly this triggered, you need therapy. Okay, like we shouldn't be building the world around accommodating every single potential negative interaction somebody could have with a particular stimulus. Like people should be built up to be resilient enough to navigate the world without having to avoid every potential thing that can make them uncomfortable. That's another thing too, and this kind of goes along with my compassion thing.
As often. But I think that's normal for when somebody's describing this action.
The clarity that you are looking for is clarity that does not. Let me start off by saying okay, in our convo yesterday, you were emotionally manipulative. I don't know if you're aware of this or not, okay?
Well, I think you're wrong. But wait, is this the topic? The topic is me being emotionally manipulative in our conversation yesterday.
I don't know what the topic is. We can wander, but I want to start here. Okay. I need you to realize this, okay?
Okay.
When you weaponize psych terms, you throw them around when they're clearly not applicable. I think you're doing that to undermine my arguments, and you're doing it in a very Darvo-esque way, where you are accusing me of gaslighting you because we don't agree on the conversation topic. But by making the accusation that I'm gaslighting you, you're making me wonder if I'm engaged in like a malicious behavior, and not just that we're having a disagreement, which is a form of gaslighting to me. Because I'm telling you, hey, we don't agree here. I think you're saying this. Can I get clarification? I'm writing it down and asking you, which isn't a very gaslighty thing to do. And then you're saying, you're gaslighting me. You're making an intentional bad faith effort to not understand me, and you're doing that when I don't think I'm doing that. You're literally trying to rewrite my own personal history on this to confuse me or to make me lose an argument, which is gaslighting. That's very annoying to me. Okay, go. What do you think?
I think I want to know if you think gaslighting means intentional.
No, it doesn't have to be intentional.
Okay. Do you think I was accusing you of that level of manipulation and obfuscation?
If you're not making that accusation, then using the word is in and of itself abusive. So we can hop on either one you want. You're either abusive by meaning I'm gaslighting, or you're abusive by using the word when you don't mean it. So it's one or the other.
Okay. I agree with that. I guess my question is, did you interpret... Okay, so when I said you were gaslighting me, I meant you are saying things that you know are not direct responses to what I'm saying, and that you know are unreasonably vague. And given the subject matter being that I think Fuentes is doing the same thing by intentionally muddying the waters, I'm very sensitive to you muddying the... And I feel like this happens with a lot of people I talk to, that they're muddying the waters in debates I'm having with them, and I don't know. I think it's like semi-intentional. I'm not trying to say you're doing this like big nefarious like thing. I'm just saying like the effect of what you're saying is...
When you say it's intentional, you're saying that I'm being evasive on purpose because I know that I'm incorrect on some given thing. Once you've levied that accusation, you've put me in a max hole that I can't escape from. Because now everything I say is either equivocation, or it's dodginess, or it's bad faith, or it's cowardness. Like, I've lost, you have taken the ability from me to respond substantively to anything you're saying by constantly cutting me off, accusing me of gaslighting. Like, I have no arguments now. Because everything I say is going to be either an equivocation or a dodge, when you're asking me incredibly difficult questions. You're the equivalent of a conservative saying, what is a woman? And when I can't give like a one-sentence answer, like, oh, you're dodging, you're being evasive. You don't have the exact answer.
I actually agree with them on that. I think that the gender argument, the only way a progressive can participate in the gender argument is to obfuscate. Because there's no answer. The idea of being trans, the way it is formulated, is inherently illogical.
What does obfuscate mean to you? Can we define that word?
Blockade, or like derail, block, confuse, intentionally confuse the issue or introduce confusion into the conversation.
Okay, I agree with this.
Okay. So when you're arguing with somebody about gender, my position is there's no such thing as gender, and sex is X, Y, or XX, and that's it. And the only way, the progressive position is that we don't know. I'm not sure. Every progressive, they're going to defend trans ideology by saying, well, it's confusing. Sex is really confusing. There's stuff we don't know. There's stuff I don't know. If we had a machine that could detect, but we don't have that machine, I don't know. Like there might be some, who knows? There could be a possibility. And there's no way to actually argue with that because there is no position. They don't have a position, and that's fine. Like, if that's what progressives think, that they just don't know, then okay. But I guess my problem with this is that I need you or really want you to have a position, or to just like admit that you don't.
Is there any way to introduce? What are you, Dan? You're fucking Jesus. Okay, sorry. What? Why would I share your screen of you playing Hearthstone?
Because you're doing nothing, and it's a good thing while you're doing this. You know, that's smart.
Okay. Is it ever possible that you can introduce nuance into a conversation, or admit that something is really complicated, so it's going to be hard to stake out a position in every circumstance? Or is that always obfuscation?
No, it's obviously possible. That's why I'm calling it out.
So how do you determine whether or not I'm being nuanced? Meaning I'm trying to say that it's more complicated than a simple, is X a Nazi? Or is X a woman? Why can't I say it's more complicated than that? Or how can I say it's more complicated than that without you just going, oh, you're being a bad faith gaslighter who's obfuscating?
I think my determination on that is going to be based on you contradicting yourself. you saying things that.
Okay, hold on. We're gonna go one thing at a time, and I'm gonna interrupt you when we do. Okay. So on the first thing, you said contradiction. Do you understand that you're begging the question when you say I'm contradicting myself? Because anytime I introduce more nuance, you're saying I'm obfuscating, which means anytime we disagree on this point of if I'm obfuscating or not, I'm by definition contradictory. So when you say, would you say Nazi here? And I say, well, I'd say Nazi here, but not here. You go, oh, that's a contradiction. I go, well, no, that's nuance. You go, oh, I can tell that it's not nuance. I can tell you're obfuscating because you're contradicting yourself. Well, no, that's part of what we're talking about. Go ahead.
Okay, I feel like you're doing it right now, but I don't
stop. If you accuse me of this and you can't substantiate it, I'm hanging up the call. Because if you're just accusing me of lying, then we're done. We can't go any further in the conversation. So I need you to turn your brain on, and I need you to critically engage what I'm saying. I'm going to restate what I just said now, so that it's absolutely. And if you don't understand it, tell me, and I'll rephrase it again. Okay? So
wait, it's not that I don't. I understand.
No. Hold on. I'm rephrasing for the chat then, because you just accused me of doing it again. I'm not going to let those.
But I don't want you to rephrase it.
I don't care. I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to do it anyway. No. I'm going to do it.
I might not think of that.
I don't care. I don't care. I have to do it. I have to do it again. I have to do it again. Okay? I have to do it again. Okay? So. Your issue is you're accusing me of obfuscating in the conversation. And I ask you, how do you know that I'm obfuscating and not just introducing nuance? And you say, well, I can tell that you're obfuscating by when you contradict yourself. And then I say, well, hold on. When I say Nazi could mean this or this, that's me trying to introduce nuance. But you view it as a contradiction because you don't agree with my points. So anytime I try to introduce nuance, you're going to point it out as contradiction, and you're going to turn it into obfuscation, meaning I can never be nuanced because it's by your definition. You've already defined it away as obfuscation. That's my issue. Okay, go ahead. You can respond.
Okay, so the reason I said I think you're doing it now is that you are choosing my example for me. If you really wanted to know, if you're just going to say, okay, point by point, like a list within a list, how are you making the determination that I'm obfuscating? And then I say, well, one example is you contradicting yourself. And then you say, okay, well, I'm going to latch onto that point. So within that point, how do you know I'm contradicting myself? And then you said, every time I introduce nuance, you're going to say I'm contradicting myself. But that's not true. I didn't say that. You're tautologically claiming on my behalf that there is no difference between introducing nuance and obfuscation when you just asked me if there's a difference, and I said yes. So
yeah, but you gave me
not
the
every
example
time you introduce nuance is to obfuscate, but then you just said on my behalf. Every time I introduce nuance, you say I'm obfuscating, but that's not true.
It's weird for you to say contradiction is evidence of obfuscation when we're literally arguing about whether or not I'm contradicting myself. That's the subject of the debate. I don't think that defining a word in two different contexts in different ways is contradiction, but you do. But that's fine that we disagree on that. But you can say our disagreement, there's evidence that you're wrong. Well, hold on, that's literally what we're arguing about.
It started out as you asking me, my thought process for what makes me say something like, I think you're obfuscating.
Okay.
You said, how do you determine that versus introducing nuance? You asked me, is there a difference? I said, yes. Right? Mm-hmm. And then I'm going through my thought process, but now you're turning my thought process not just into a one bullet point of it, not just into a claim I'm making generally, which I'm not, into a claim I'm making about a specific point of your choosing now. But
you can choose your own example if you want. I just want to get it clear.
You just tried to choose it for me.
Okay, I'm so sorry, Max. You can choose it.
I don't want an apology. I'm just pointing out that
I'm giving a hypothetical example to try to test your thing. But if you don't like my example, you can say Destiny. This is disanalogous for this reason. Or Steven, this is disanalogous for this reason. Let me use this example instead. You could just give that example instead of saying you're being bad faith by giving an example. So you can provide your own example if you'd like. Go ahead.
Okay. I think that it is. Do you want me to give you an example of you contradicting yourself and why I think it was obfuscation?
Sure. Well, if you can't think of a particular one, give an example of it. You don't have to remember.
I think it is self-contradictory to claim that you have no control over the definition of the word Nazi in your fan base or in your community, and then to also claim that the reason you don't exert control over it is because you don't care. And then also give a bunch of examples of times where you did exert control over the word Nazi in your community. Those to me, all those stances all contradict each other.
Okay. Tell me if this series of statements implies a contradiction. Okay?
Okay.
So number one, I can't control people's engagement with media outside of my community. Do you agree with that?
I don't think you can totally control it, but I think you have a lot of sway over how your community views the media. For example, like with Kyle Rittenhouse. I think that you could basically control how people who follow you interpret other people talking about Kyle Rittenhouse, if they're big fans of yours.
Okay, I'm gonna ask this again. I can't control my community's engagement with political content outside of mine. I might be able to say, like, you could maybe look at it this way or that way, but they can watch stuff other than me, right? And they can take opinions outside of my. I can't not their media diet 100%.
No, but you can control what they see when they see the same thing.
I don't know what that means. If somebody turns my stream off and they go watch Hassan or Vosh, I've lost control of that viewer for a bit.
No, you can totally control the narrative about other streamers and figures. If the person is like a huge fan of yours, you can absolutely color their view of anything you want.
Can't other people color their view of me? Couldn't Vosh or Hassan color one of my viewers' views of me?
Not the same way that you can. No, when somebody is a fan or a super fan of yours, like it doesn't matter what anybody else says about you.
Okay, so the people in my subreddit that are on your side, of which there were many threads this morning, are those? I lost all of those people as fans. They're not my fans anymore.
No, they are your fans. This is a temporary, like them viewing you as evasive or whatever. They're still fans of yours.
Okay,
though.
so then
they still
in
love
this
you
sense, another content creator, another figure, has influenced their view of something that's in a way outside of my control.
Okay, you just said like an hour ago on stream, you said you said you cannot tell how people actually felt about the argument with me anymore because you went over it on stream. You said once I go over something on stream, that colors my audience's perception of it so much that I no longer can even ask them what they think.
Okay, this is not a contradiction to anything that I'm saying right now. So I'm gonna ask the first question. We can deal with that subject later if you want. I'm gonna ask again. Okay. I can't believe that you're not willing to give this point. I do not control 100% of my viewers' media digest. I can't do that. They watch other stuff besides me sometimes.
Yes,
Okay?
you do not 100% control it.
Okay. I can't control how words are used in other communities. Do you agree with that?
I think you can influence how words are used in some other communities, but you don't have total control over it. I agree with that.
Okay. I don't have control how words are used in other communities. I don't control how Vosh or Hassan uses words.
That's true.
Okay. I can speak up when I think a word is used incorrectly in my community. When somebody's watching me, right? I can do that.
Yes.
Okay. And then the fourth claim, probably the most contentious one, maybe the one that we'll fight over the most, is I can't remove all context or all understanding that people have of a word outside of my community.
You cannot remove all context. Of course not.
So for instance, I very much feel like pedophile means attraction to a prepubescent person. I'm not choosing this for you, but this is one that might. Okay.
Hey.
I think that pedophile means attraction to a prepubescent person. Period. Full stop. That's what pedophile means to me. But there's probably a lot of people in my community that would still say like, oh, a 30-year-old attracted to a 16-year-old is a 16-year-old is a pedophile. There's still probably a lot of people that would say that, right?
Yeah. Right.
So I'm going to run through these one more time. I can't control my community's engagement with political content outside of my community. Maybe I can influence the way they view it when they come back into my community and I go over whatever, but I can't control, like, if they go watch Vosh or Hassan or something, I have no control of them in that time period. They're off watching something else, right? Okay. I can't control how words are used in those other communities. So if Vosh uses fascist for whatever reason, I have no control over that. Yeah?
I think you can influence it indirectly, but no, you don't have direct total control over it.
I can speak up in my community when I think a word is used incorrectly. Okay, yeah?
Yeah.
I can't, and then four is I can't totally redefine a word in my community. I can push for how I want something to be, but I can't totally like rewrite everybody's brains in my community. They're still gonna have a whole bunch of external context for what words means, and I can't control that 100%. I can push them in a certain direction.
Yeah, any of these would be an absurd claim to make.
Okay.
That you have total control over any of these things. Also, the last point of self-contradiction was that you don't care.
Okay. Given all four of these premises, I'm going to reread your statement that you say is full of contradictions. So you're saying that I'm making it's self-contradictory to claim that I have no control over the definition of the word Nazi in your community. So I think this is dealt with in a way in premise 2 and 3, that in my community, people are bringing with them preconceived notions of Nazi into my community, and I don't have control of that fully, and I can't rewrite that fully. So when I say, if we want to be charitable to me, I'm not going to say I don't have no control over the definition, but I can't rewrite that completely.
Well, which is it? Because I didn't make the claim that you can rewrite it completely.
Okay,
I just think I think you have a large degree of control over how the word Nazi is used in your community.
Okay, I need you to apply the basest level of charitability to what I'm saying. Okay, because you're treating me like an unmitigated retard. Do you think that I would say that I have absolutely no control over what anybody in my community says? Do you think I would ever make a statement like that?
No, but you came kind of close last night. I think you said I can't control what my community says, how my community defines this word. And then when I pressed you on it, you said, well, I don't care. I don't care to define it in a certain way. And then I said, well, what about all these other statements you're making where you are defining it in a certain way?
Okay, we're going to dive into these statements because they're proving everything I've said. Okay. When I say this sentence, I can't control how my community defines a word, what do you mean by that? Because I can read this, and in the context of what I know about me, and what you should know about me, and what everybody knows about me, I think there's a very obvious way to read that statement. You tell me what you think that statement means. When I say, I can't control how my community defines a word.
I think my problem with it is that there are, I did not interpret you as meaning 100% control. And I don't think you interpreted me as meaning 100% control. I don't think either of us thought that the other person meant that. And yet, in your counterexample here, you're asking me, do I have 100% control? Which I don't think is relevant, because I don't think that's what either of us meant. So I assume, when I say you have control over how people use this word, I assumed you know that I mean you have a large degree of control. That you're not going to see a DGGer saying pedophile the same way a Voshvan does, because of you, because you have changed how they think of that word.
Potentially. Okay, but
So
focusing on this,
general
I
amount of
can't.
control.
So when I say I can't control how my community defines a word, what do you think I'm probably saying there? Just talk about this statement. I can't control how my community defines a word. What do you think I mean when I say this?
I think this is my problem, I guess. It sounds like, I guess my immediate thought is compared to what? So if you're saying I don't have total control, that's obvious, but then it doesn't mean anything. If you're saying I only have some control, then I'm obviously imploring you to use whatever control you do have to this effect.
Okay, now, this is an argument.
No control, that's
this
obviously
is good.
not true.
That's fine. That statement is an argument that we can actually work with and build off of, okay?
Okay.
Accusing me of saying I have no control makes me look like an idiot. And then it feels like you're implying that I can have a high degree of control, and I think that makes you look like an idiot. But this statement that, like, you can exert some control, even though a lot of it is outside of your control, now we have this is something that we can discuss, okay?
But this is why I'm accusing you of obfuscating.
I am being incredibly clear here. If anybody's obfuscated thus far, you're the one giving the evasive answers. But after all of this talking, now we've gotten to a point that I think is actually an interesting discussion, which is there are people that use words in ways that I disagree with outside of my community. And you agreed that I can't control how words are used in other communities. And you agreed that I can speak up when a word is used incorrectly in my community. But you also agree that I can't totally redefine a word in my community. So then the question becomes, what is the struggle that you're willing to take, and is the payoff worth it? Because we both agree that I can exert some influence. Yeah. I agree with that, and you agree with that. We both also agree that a lot of it is out of my control, because I can't control other communities, and I can't control how words are defined, and I can't totally redefine them in my community, right? So the question is, how much do you want to struggle against that? And that is an interesting conversation. Go ahead.
The reason I'm saying you're obfuscating is that I don't believe that you possibly could have thought I meant anything else last night. You don't think I meant that you have total control, and you don't think that I thought you meant you have zero control.
The problem is that when I would bring up an example, and when I would say, these words are used so far, they have so many different meanings now, I don't want to struggle against all of those other external meanings. I don't want to sit here and have to redefine or try to define Nazi, rapist, homophobe, whatever in my own stream. You would always say, well, are you saying you have no control over the words? Are you saying that the community is outside of your control? You can't guide them at all?
I knew you weren't saying that.
Okay, well, that's what it felt like to me as an emotional retard creature. That was what I was hearing over and over and over and over and over again.
I don't think you're
correct. You didn't say I was retarded. You said worse. You assumed that I was being malicious. So it's even worse than being dumb. You assumed that I was being intentionally bad faith by saying gaslighting and evasiveness.
I'm going to settle on semi-intentional.
Okay.
But my sense is now that if you really wanted us to have a shared understanding of what I mean when I say you have control over how your community uses the word Nazi or how they think of the word Nazi, I think that you would offer back a good faith interpretation of that statement. You would say, okay, so you're saying I generally have a lot of influence over how people use the word Nazi in my community. Got it. And I would say, sure. Like, I'd be pretty amenable to that. Like, do you really think I'm going to counter that with saying, no, Stephen. I'm saying you have total 100% control over how
I do think you would try to nail me down that, because the issue that I'm having, and this is why I was writing down and trying.
Insane.
You're saying that, but I think it's insane of you. You don't know. I need you to admit this. You don't know if Nick is a Nazi inside of his mind. You can't know that. It's that information is by definition inaccessible to you. You don't know that, right? But when you're trying to nail down on me, like, do you think he would do this? Do you think he's nice? It's like, fuck, man, I don't know. Mate, what about in his ideal world? I don't know what his ideal world would. Maybe you're accusing me of being weaselly every time I refuse to stake out a hard position here. So when you say, like, can you redefine a word? Can you do this? Like, I don't know if you're asking for a 100.
That's not why.
I don't. Hold on.
That's not.
I'm just saying that from my perspective, you're trying to nail me down on these ultra rigid positions where it's like, Jesus, I don't even fucking know, like, if he was in power, if he could get the power, what he would do. I'm not sure 100%. So when I'm not taking these 100% positions, it feels like you're attacking me for it. So I don't know what you mean when you're asking me to, like, redefine words or fight for words, or you're giving me examples of how I can, like, change some words, whatever. That's what I'm trying to figure out by writing your responses down and then ask you questions to test it.
Okay. I disagree with your statement that I'm calling you weaselly for not taking a firm stance. That's not why. I don't even call you weaselly, but that's not why I'm accusing you of obfuscating.
True. You called me cowardly, spineless, and says I wasn't equipped for the conversation, and that I was gaslighting. I think those are the words you used, but not weaselly. Go ahead.
I think I called all streamers cowardly and spineless.
It was in the context of that conversation related to these topics, so it was very specifically aimed at me. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, are you saying you're mad or hurt that I used those terms, or are you asking me to defend my stance?
No, I'm not mad or hurt. I'm frustrated because once these words are brought out, the argument ends. We can't have a back and forth anymore because now you're telling me what I think and you're not listening to what I'm saying because you've already decided, oh, he's lying about this. He's being bad faith.
But the implication of that is that you never obfuscate, but maybe you do.
The problem is we're having an incredibly complicated conversation about incredibly broad political labels that I believe 90% of people could not accurately identify today. And you're saying, oh, you're not giving a rigid definition of this, you're obfuscating. I'm not obfuscating. I'm just acknowledging the hardcore political realities that we live in today.
That's not why I'm saying you're obfuscating.
Why are you saying I'm obfuscating? Okay, I'm sorry, hold on. I'm writing this down, word for word.
Okay.
Why am I obfuscating?
I think you are straw manning me with a completely untenable position by saying that if I say you have control over how your community defines this word, I must be saying you have 100% control over how your community uses the word.
Okay.
I also
so this is what it. Well, hold on. Okay. So you think I'm straw manning you with an untenable position by saying that if you're claiming that I have control over how my community defines a word, you must be saying that I have 100% control over community defines a word. So in my mind, I feel like we're fighting about the interesting conversation, which is a struggle of how much effort should I put into this versus not. So I feel like I'm giving an example where I'm saying, well, there's a lot of external ways that these words are defined as well that are out of my control. And then your response is, no, you can control it in your community. When you say that as a response, so there's two responses. You can either say that, no, you can control it in your community. That makes it sound like a binary position. But if you were to respond to me instead and you were to say, well, yeah, there is a lot of external content there that you can't deal with, but like, I think it's worth it for you to fight against that in your community, even if it's not a 100% thing, to try to like maintain some like level of, and you're gonna have to fight for it all the time, of this word's definition of community. Like a response like that would be like, okay, well, let's talk about how much we should fight for the definition. But that's not what it felt like when I was pushing back for these are why I don't fight 100% on these things. It sounds like you were always giving me a counter. It's like, oh, so you're saying this, or oh, well, you don't think that. Or well, no, that made it felt like it was binary from you. That's the feeling.
Okay. Yeah.
Because we
I'm
both
not
know that
saying-
I would never say I have no control and I have total control. Both of those things are false. We both know that both of us, I would hope in
Yeah,
this
but
conversation, think both of those statements are false, right?
It feels like a derailment when you even introduce either of those concepts, because neither you're not going to say you have zero control, and I'm not going to say you have total control. So, and this is the same thing with whether Nick is a Nazi. It's the same. I feel like it's the same obfuscation. What I'm asking you is, what is your personal assessment? Is he a Nazi? Is he not a Nazi? Or do you not know? But when I press you on that at different times, I get different answers. That feels like the obfuscation. If you just said, I don't know, and I don't care, then no, I'm not going to say you're obfuscating then. I'm not trying to reach into your mind and say that like you're contradicting your inner thoughts. I'm saying the things you are saying are contradicting other things you're saying, and then you're positioning me as being unhappy that you don't know the answer to my question or that you won't take a firm stance. My problem